before we do that, okay, I think there were some technical difficulties. Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to Sister Speak. You're here with me, Mariam. Also joined in the studio is.
Assalamualaikum everyone, it's Sadia.
Thank you for joining us. So today's show, we're going to be talking about friendships and technological advancements and the advantages and disadvantages of that. But if they want to join in the discussion, how can they do that?
So everyone, you can call us on the studio on 01582 481 822, or you could text us on WhatsApp 0777 481 822, or you could contact us on any of our social media platforms under Sister Speak.
Amazing. So we really would like to hear your thoughts. Fareen, can you tell the audience what our show is about?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues, and even form discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, politics, etc. Please note all opinions, views are our own, and we respect all other or opposing similar views.
Yes, so just to reiterate, we respect all other opposing views, but we do really want you to join our discussion and contribute where you can. So the first segment of the show, we do this segment called Thought of the Week. It's a segment where we talk about something that's insightful, a reflection, or maybe a personal anecdote. So I'm going to start off with Fareen. Can you just share us with your thought of the week?
Yeah, so I was just thinking this week's about the power of, making dua, and the fact that we get so busy and we get so, we just get so busy with life that we don't think about the dua we've made in the past to be where we are now. So I'm just gonna be an example so that makes sense. So when I was, applying for uni, all I was making dua for was to be in a good uni, to be settled in, to like my course, to make friends and everything. And now I have everything just because of that one dua I make. But now that I'm here, it just feels so insignificant and irrelevant, and I just get so busy and I'm making dua for other things. And then when that comes, I'm not gonna think about the dua that I'm making now.
I
So
think
that's
that's
my thought
such
of
a
the week.
profound. Yeah, I think that's such a profound thought of the week. I think there's a saying that you're living in one of your answered duas, and we should take we should be really appreciative of that, because there's so many things that we have asked Allah to provide for us, and He's accepted our wishes, and we should be really grateful that that is out of His mercy, and it's not something that we're entitled to. And I think that for you to reflect over that is an amazing thing as well, because that will allow you to exercise gratitude. But not only that, it will allow you to feel more humble, that the blessings that you get from Allah is something that is out of His mercy. Sadia, what is your thought of the week?
My thought of the week would be just it's similar to what Fareen has said. Just how far you come with all the little things you do. So for me, obviously a year ago you asked me to come on here, and I obviously said no with no thought of it. I didn't have the confidence to come on and talk on here, and now I'm here for the second time. So I think although that's a big step for me, it's such a good step into confidence, and that also goes on friendship as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think something that so those who don't know, we did a show on nursing. So Sadia is a adult nurse, and I think that one of the shows that we had a lot of engagement. A lot of people was asking questions, and it was really, really interesting. And we were really grateful for your contribution on that day. But it's something that I can definitely vouch. When I first asked Sadia, she immediately said no. There was no sense of negotiation. There was no scope. And today, when I asked her, "Would you like to come back on the show?" she was very up for it. So I'm really proud of her to be able to kind of venture into something that's unknown. And I think you kind of triggered my thought of the week now, is just to kind of celebrate your little milestones. I think everyone's successes looks different because everyone's journey is different, and for something that's really meaningful, impactful in your life may seem outwardly insignificant to others, but I think you should be fixated and focused on yourself and how much you have improved. And I think another thing that I want to kind of touch upon as well is to embrace making mistakes. I definitely feel like through radio, sometimes my shows are not the best as I would like it to be, but sometimes they're good. And I think it's about taking that ability to reflect and to take accountability of how can I improve myself, but also I need to kind of think about where my strengths are. So I think in doing that, you should really embrace having the scope to make mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you won't have a learning curve and you won't be able to grow. And having a growth mindset is really important if you want to thrive in any aspect of your life. So that is my thought of the week. Does anyone have any further thoughts, Fareen?
Yes, I'm just gonna talk about your thought of the week. I feel like every time we start something new, we should always think that we're gonna make mistakes and know going like it's good to have confidence, but that confidence shouldn't turn into arrogance. So anything you do, it's life. Like you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna be, shouldn't be too confident. Whatever you're getting into, you should always go with that scope, like you said, of making mistakes.
Yeah, so having that mindset is really important. And I think it's also one of the things that when you do make mistakes is having the conditions to be able to thrive. So having a support network, having your friends to kind of celebrate you, to support you, to remind you that look how far you've come. I think that's really earnestly something that will I appreciate from my friends. And I think that when you do fall into these pits where you're learning and you make mistakes and it's very outward, and sometimes it can feel quite abrasive, but I think that's when you're going to build resilience. And I think thinking about mistakes as an opportunity to learn as opposed to a a definitive matter in your life that makes you look beneath someone else or beneath yourself. So yeah, I think that kind of rounds our thought of the week. So thank you, Farine, and thank you, um, Sadia, for sharing your contributions. So now I'm going to do a segment where we like to do when we have guests on the show, just to kind of ease things in. So it's our Would You Rather segment. So the first question I'm going to ask Sadia is, would you rather have to shout everything you say or whisper everything you say for the rest of your life?
Oh, I think I'll go with whisper because I'm not that loud. I don't often shout. I think I can live off whispering.
I think that's
Yeah.
very fair. And what about you, Farine?
I agree. I think if you're yelling bad news, then it's bad for you, but you can whisper good and bad news, so there's nothing wrong with whispering. So I'll go with whispering.
I think I agree with both of you. I think I'd rather whisper. I think there's so much noise already. I just don't want to be contributing that noise in my head and noise outside. I think whispering. Imagine if everyone whispered. That'd be so
It would
nice.
be peaceful.
It'd be
Quiet.
very
Yeah.
peaceful. But then at the same time, I feel like whispering, there'll be scope to misunderstand people, like Chinese
Yeah.
whispers. So there's always a trade off.
But yelling just sounds aggressive in every sense
Oh
because you're
yeah.
just saying it really loud, aren't you?
Yeah, I agree. In terms of the next question, if you had to pick, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? So,
Mariam, are you being serious?
it's just a food for thought. It's a question that I thought, unless you want me to ask you the questions that I like to ask, which are a bit more profound and in depth.
Let's go with these
Should we
questions
go?
and then you start with your profound ones.
Okay, go ahead.
What was the
You know,
what
go
was the
with it.
question? Can
What's
you
your
repeat again?
Yes, of course. So, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? So, imagine there's 100 ducks that look like horses, or you have a horse that looks like a duck, the size of a duck, a horse.
Um, I think due to quantity, I'll go for the only one, but I'm scared of animals, so either a nightmare for me.
I
Any
agree.
animals I just want to be away from.
Yeah, I completely concede with that. I think having 100 duck-sized
Oh,
horses would be the worst nightmare for me. What about yourself?
yeah, I completely agree. One's enough.
Once
One
enough.
big one.
Okay, I don't think this question was embraced very well, so we'll move to something different. So I think this is quite a reflective question, and I really do like having the ability to introspect. So the question that I have for both of you is: would you rather have the power to change your past or control your future, knowing that altering either of these can cause unintended consequences? Sadia, do you want to go first?
Yeah. I think altering the past probably more than the future. because the past is gonna build your future, really. So I know there might be consequences, but maybe there could be learning curves, and
Hmm.
you can still kind of build your own future.
So you would rather change your past?
Yeah.
Interesting. Farine, what's your view on this?
I'm gonna have to disagree. I feel like if I have to change my past now, I wouldn't want to change anything because I am where I want to be right now. So I can change my future. What can I change? So many things. I mean, there's no one thing I can think of right now, but there's no one thing that I can think of on my past that I would want to change. I'll go for
Amazing.
the
So
future.
can you, if you can tell us one thing that you'd want to change in your future, if you had this ability to do that, what would you change?
What would I change? From the It's because I don't know what the future is gonna look like, so I don't know what specifically I would want to change. I'm not sure.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. But if there is one thing that, so for example, I think one of the consistent states that you'd be in terms of your characteristics or your personality, is there something that you wish you could alter in the future so that you don't? For me, it would probably be like maybe just being a bit more resilient. I think that's something that I would want to alter in the future. But is there anything that you would specifically, in your own um, understanding of yourself, would like to alter?
Personality wise, I think no. I'm not gonna be any humble, but I think I'm okay right now. I don't know how I'm gonna be in the future, but personality wise, I wouldn't change anything.
Amazing. I
What
love
about you,
that. I love
Sadia?
that for you. I love how you, yeah, Sadia, what do you,
What would I change?
yeah.
Um, I feel like maybe I would have done more, like more extra curriculum,
Mm,
maybe more traveling, and that
mm,
could have actually maybe changed my future or my views on life. Like that, if I traveled a bit more, I might be traveling now
mm.
or exploring different countries or living in another country,
Oh,
and that could have completely changed my future.
that's amazing. I think I agree with I think definitely traveling does um allow you to think about people in a different way because you're confronted with different cultures and different understandings. And I think I've spoken quite extensively about this when I travel in Europe for the organizations that I volunteer with, even though they're across the sea and then Europe, there's so much differences. And I think that for me was quite a learning opportunity. But going back to the question, I agree with Vereen. I do not want to change my past because I definitely think that past has contributed to the individual I am today. And I feel like I would lose myself if I changed or altered any aspects of that. So for me, it would be changing the future. I don't know what that looks like, but I definitely wouldn't want to change the past because I think the kind of lessons that I've learned from my past has allowed me to build tools that will enable me to navigate my future, and it's a constant learning curve for me. So I wouldn't, and I think my identity derives from those past mistakes, and even not even mistakes, experiences at whole. So for me, I'm definitely someone that wouldn't want to alter my past. Okay, so the next question that I want to ask: would you, if you were given the choice, would you rather have the power to feel no pain but also lose the capacity for joy, or experience the full spectrum of emotions, including pain and ecstasy? Sadia?
Um, I'm gonna go with the second one. It was feeling all emotions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just because it's just you're gonna feel everything, and that's the good and the bad. And
Huh.
what was the first one? Not feeling any pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. As much as you don't want to feel pain, at least you'll have every emotion you can feel.
Mm. Okay, Farine, what's your thoughts on this?
Wait, can you repeat it? So the first one is you don't feel any pain and you feel all the other emotions, and then the second one is you feel everything.
So I think in to kind of the overarching kind of question is, would you rather have the ability to have experience no pain at all, without the capacity of joy, or to feel every single emotion?
To feel. I'll go for the second one. Yeah, like Sadia said, you are gonna feel everything regardless. So I'll go for the second one. I'm feeling all emotions, anger, joy. Because I mean, is it physical pain? Because if it is physical pain, then I'll go to the first one.
There's no specific. It's not specific. So I guess you can. I think if you were just to pick any, I think for me as well, it's feeling every spectrum of emotion. Just because even if you can't understand joy without the absence of in the absence of pain, when you feel pain, that's when you appreciate joy. So I think those definitions are developed because they contingent on each other. So definitely for me, I would want to feel the array of emotions. In terms, I think we have a couple of minutes, but I think one of the final questions I want to ask: in a world where you must choose, would you rather have the power to bring back one person from the dead for a day, or have a conversation with your future self for an hour?
Oh, that's tough. I think I'm gonna go with the second one again. Have a conversation with yourself from the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, just so I don't know, get an understanding of life. It could be a positive conversation. Be like, if you're going through a tough time, be like, carry on. You'll get there.
Mm.
You'll get where you want it to be, or you're at a way better position in a few years' time, 10 years' time, whatever.
Interesting. Farine, what's your thoughts on this?
I'll go for the first one. I'll bring someone back from the dead, and you talk with them for an hour, right? That's enough. That's enough. Because I wouldn't want to talk to my
What
future
would
self.
you what would you why would you I want to unpack why would you want to speak to someone that's passed away and bring them back? What would you want to ask? What does that conversation look like for you?
That's a really good question. That's really. I'm not sure. I feel like it would be like a, you know how we reflect on the shows, it would be the same thing, like a really reflecting conversation on life.
Yeah. I think for me, it's really difficult because I feel like both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. I think speaking to yourself in the future, I think I would hope that the future self of myself, if that makes sense, would be achieving the things that I want to do whilst I'm in my present right now. But I do feel like speaking to someone that's passed away and coming back, I think that would inform my future because then I could learn from them like what their regrets were, what if they could come back to life, what would they do differently? I think that would trigger how I would navigate my life. So I think for me, I think I'm more leaned towards speaking to someone that's passed away, just because you would learn so much from them. I feel like a lot of people have regrets, especially when they're coming to the end of their life, and to learn from them and take that experiences, I feel like that would be quite profound for me in terms of building my future. Because I think one of the things that we don't really appreciate our present and we don't appreciate time because time is relative, um, because we feel that we just have access to it completely, and it's something that's not going to be gone one day, but it will. And I think for me personally is just to be conscious of that. So I think that's kind of my answer to the question. But we are coming to the end of this first half of the show. Thank you, Sadia and Farine, for your contributions. In the next half, we'll be talking about friendships and technological advancements. So if you do want to join the discussion, please do contact us, and we look forward to hearing thoughts. Assalamu alaikum.
Inspire FM. Inspire FM. Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, it's Humera, lifestyle blogger and lawyer from Bristol. Be sure to catch me on my website www.humeraashraf.com and continue to listen to Inspire FM 105.1.
We know it's hard to walk past people sitting on the streets in the cold, but giving money to them isn't the best solution. Vulnerable individuals in Luton need specialised support from our local charities and organisations. Turn your small change into big change this winter by donating to Big Change Luton, and together we can help people start a new life away from the streets. To find out more, visit bigchangeluton.co.uk or look out for our contactless donation point outside Luton train station.
Did you see that guy on TV?
What, that no comment guy?
Yeah, he was sick. What was his name?
I think it was Atiq Malik.
Yeah, Atiq Malik of Liberty Law Solicitors. Atik Malik heads up the criminal law team at Liberty Law Solicitors, specialising in everything from serious crime down to road traffic offences.
To find out more or for a free telephone consultation, call 01582 459955.
Liberty Law, there when you need us most.
The messenger of God, peace be upon him, said, "Do not belittle even the smallest act of kindness, even if it were no more than meeting your brother with a smiling and cheerful face."
Narrated by Abu Dar in the collections of Muslim.
आइडियल प्रॉपर्टीज 20 साल से आपकी खिदमत में पेश आपकी प्रॉपर्टी की सारी जिम्मेदारी अब हमारी। हम अच्छी तरह से जांच पड़ताल करके किराएदार डालते हैं और आपको किराया बर वक्त गारंटी के साथ दिलवाते हैं। अगर आप प्रॉपर्टी किराए पर लेने या फरोख्त करने का सोच रहे हैं तो आज ही हमारे तजुर्बाकार माहिरीन से राब्ता कीजिए 01582721110 या फिर 01582696050। आइडियल प्रॉपर्टीज, आपकी मदद हमारा एन फरीजा।
Top tips for this winter on Inspire FM. Road safety is very important, and during winter when the days are shorter and it becomes dark during rush hours, it can be difficult to see other road users. If you are driving, take extra caution as the roads may be more slippery than usual. To reduce the risk of accidents, drive at a slower pace to make sure you have enough time to react to potential hazards. For more winter advice, stay tuned to Inspire 105.1 FM or visit our website www.inspirefm.org.
Since its launch, tens of thousands of Muslims have given zakat through NZF. We're the only platform with a national reach enabling you to give zakat to those who need it here. Across the country, Muslims are in need. Your zakat has the potential to change their lives. Just go to www.nzf.org.uk to calculate your zakat, choose how it's used, and keep updated about the impact it's having on the lives of Muslims where you live. NZF. Give zakat here.
होशियार रहें, कुछ लोगों ने फ्रॉड का एक नया तरीका अपना लिया है। वो आपके घरों पर इंस्पायर एफएम और दीगर चैरिटीज के नाम पर चंदा मांगने आते हैं। इनको कुछ भी देने से पहले इनका आईडी कार्ड या फिर इस चैरिटी से राब्ता करके तसल्ली कर लें कि कहीं आप गलत शख्स को रकम तो नहीं दे रहे। इंस्पायर एफएम कम्युनिटी अवेयरनेस मैसेज।
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 6:30.
Okay, this keeps happening. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Sisters Speak. You're joined with me, Mariam.
And Sadia.
And we also have Fareen joined with us online. In the first half of the show, we talked about our reflections in terms of making mistakes and a growth mindset. And in this half, we'll be talking about friendships, our main topic today, and how technological advancements impacts that. So I'm going to delve right into it, and I'm going to ask the first question, Sadia, which is how has the prevalence of digital communications impacted your relationships with friends and family?
I don't think it's a bad thing because you're still able to communicate with your friends. So in a way, it's a good thing because you can constantly be in contact with family and friends, and rather than, you traveling to always see them because you might not get the time with work and other commitments in life. So it's a good thing because you get to, whatever it is, it's a phone call away, a text, a video call, FaceTime. So you're always kind of there for those people without physically being there.
Very important, being connected, even though when you're not physically there. What about yourself, Fareen? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with Sadia. Now that I'm living away from home, texting and calling is my only form of communication with my Luton friends and my family. So yeah, I agree with Sadia.
We miss you dearly, Fareen. Come back. So for me, I think the prevalence is that in my own personal life, I think it definitely has enabled me to keep in contact, and especially with the type of work that I do and the voluntary that I do, it's allowed me to keep in touch with people that don't live in the UK, and I think that's quite important. But at the same time, I do feel like it's diluted my friendships, because I think it's quite, sometimes it does feel quite performative in a way that you ask someone how they are, and then when they get back to it, you forgot what kind of the purpose of the conversation was. And there's no expectation. I don't have the expectation for someone to respond to me immediately. I think that's a culture that can evolve to being quite toxic. And I think we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But I think for me personally, it's just finding that balance. I think digital communications, whilst it has its advantages in terms of being connected with people from various areas of the world, I do think that it has influenced the ability to disconnect with people that are in your present life. And so because you have that reliance on social media or some sort of digital communications, you don't value that time when you're with the other person, because you know you can just speak to them later on, even if you don't. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Which is a good segue for the next question is, do you think social media enhances or diminishes our sense of connection with others, and why? I'm going to start off with Fareen. What do you think about that?
I think so. I'm gonna agree with you with what you said before, because when I'm here, the friends that, like, my university friends, I call them. So when I'm here and someone calls me, or one of my other friends is online, then I just go on my phone, and I'm not really appreciating, them being there in real life, because I'm busy with something else. That, and the fact that it's really true when you ask someone how they are and then they reply a week later. And this is something that I tend to do too, because I get so busy. I just read the message, from the notification thing, but I never reply until a week later, and they're like, I don't care how you are now, right? So yeah. So what was the question? Do you think a social
So the
media
question is,
diminishes our sense of connection? Uh, in real life, yes.
and why do you think that?
Is on our phone. In this, everyone's always walking around with phones in their hands. When we're walking, we need to have our phones in our hands, so we're not really seeing what's happening out there. Like the other day, for example, and obviously I'm guilty of this. I'm not gonna say I'm not. So the other day, for example, I was walking on campus, and I was on my phone watching this TikTok, and this man like crashed into me because we were both on our phones. And
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
it's just your situational awareness just goes away when you're with your phone.
Oh, wow. And what happened? And what was the conversation after that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. And he went, oh, I'm so sorry too. And then we just started walking our own ways. It was like so normal for us.
I think that for me would have triggered reflection, is that I'm walking and I'm in another world and not present in the world I'm
Yeah.
actually in. And the fact that it's so normalized, the fact that it didn't impact you or influence that what you would do next in any way, shape, or form, or didn't even trigger a conversation, because you're more. I think I'm sure that you had places to go, but there was no conversation after that. That's quite interesting. I was going to ask Sadia, what do you think about that?
What was the question?
So I think like that. Do you think social media enhances or diminishes our sense of connection with others?
Yeah, so like it's a bit of both, isn't it? It's got its benefits and its limitations. Like you've said, yeah, the limitation is we're just so less socially aware around our surroundings. But obviously, it's a way of staying in contact, knowing what your friends are doing. But like, just reflecting, I feel like down here, down south, or where we're living, a lot of us don't like really talk to each other. Like, you might never talk to your neighbor apart from hi, bye, and that's it. But like, when I went up north and I was walking down the street, and there were people just standing there, like not standing there, but like I saw one of the neighbors, and then they stopped to talk to me, and I was having a full blown conversation, and I was a bit like, oh, like we don't really talk to anyone really, because I suppose it's a society thing as well. Like maybe we're all just socially, we don't really want to socialize with people that we don't know or people around us. But
yeah, I think it's because how fast paced
Mhm.
living in the southeast is, especially if you're in and around London. People got places to go and things to do.
Everyone's just got their headphones on. And they're just
And that's
carry
not
on.
to say that people don't have the same kind of commitments up north, but I think it's our priorities. I think the priorities are very different, or in terms of understanding different cultures, and so
Exactly.
it's quite, there might be a differentiation, because whilst I had the same experience, so whilst I do appreciate the fact that when I went up north, people do converse with you, I can understand why people in the south don't speak to each other, because time is very fleeting, and they need to get to places, and then they can't really stop, because if one person stops, then there's a domino effect, and therefore that can cause other problems as well. But I also do think that the ability to make conversation is something that we're all losing, and it actually really disheartens me. And I think for me, what I really value in my friendships is that when two people are together, when I'm with my friends, that we don't need to look at the phone. I really don't understand it. It's something very hard for me to comprehend when people are talking to each other but they're speaking to someone else on their phone, because I'm sitting right in front of you and we're having a conversation, but you're simultaneously just listening to me passively, and you're using the phone. And I just think that's something that has become so normalized, but I find it very uncomfortable. So I actually want to turn to Fareen, because this could be because of the way I grew up, but I want to ask Fareen, is this something that troubles you when someone else is on their phone and you're talking to them, or is something that doesn't impact you in any way or form?
I might do it sometimes. But when people do it to me, I get so angry that I stop talking and be like, why are you stopping? Like, you're not even listening to me. You just, the only thing that they do is say, yeah, yeah. Actually, this reminds me, there's literally a TikTok trend on this where they're trying to like test their friends if they're actually listening to them just because they're so busy on their phones. And it just, you just feel so small. You just feel like you're not being listened to. So you don't want to be in that environment. And it happened to me with my friends and I just left.
Interesting. And did they follow up on that?
Yeah, obviously
So
they
did
went,
they?
where are you going? Where are you going? I said, well, I'm just tired. I never really say out loud what I want, what I'm actually feeling. So I just said, oh, I know, like, I'm not feeling good, and I just left.
Oh dear. So do you think that in hindsight now, would you converse and tell them that, I didn't appreciate when you behaved like this and it impacted me in this way? Do you think that that would be received by your friends, or is it something that, do you feel that they think that's an unreasonable expectation from you?
I feel like they wouldn't take it seriously because obviously the friends that I'm making now, they're kind of not temporary, but they're not like new friends. They're not close friends that I'm gonna open my heart to and have a good, meaningful communication or conversation about what I'm actually feeling. But when it's a close friend, then I do expect them to, listen to what I'm saying and to understand what I'm feeling this way. But as of now, all my friendships are not, like established friendships.
That's really interesting. So the next kind of question I have then is that, do you have different measurements of what you constitute as a friend for different groups of people? And I want to ask Sadia this. So for what I'm seeing from Fareen is that she establishes close friends and she has a certain expectation for them, and then friends that are a bit distant, she has an expectation from them. How does that look like for you, Sadia?
Actually, I think it is the same. It's obviously how you know that person, how you know them, and how long you've known them for, and how much you know of them, and how much they know about you. So yeah, like if you started a new job, for example, and you're making friends, they're not going to be your close friends, because at the same time they're still your colleagues as well. So there's only a certain amount you can share with them. But if you've had friends for years that you're in constant contact with, you're always catching up, that's someone you'd want to tell your open up to more. So yeah, like different friendship groups. It
Do you
depends how
think,
much.
and just unpacking that a little bit further, do you think the way they treat you also, you can accept that there's difference of behaviors in the way they treat you, because you distinguish them in different groups? So for instance, for Fareen, her expectation of someone that's not that close is, it's not that big of a deal for her if they don't give her what she needs. Do you think that's the same with you?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because if you're not really opening up to them and you're just friends, there's nothing more to it. There's a certain expectation you should have. And Obviously, it'll be different if you really opened up to them, but they're not giving back to you. That's obviously then more sticky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an imbalance.
That's when, you're hurt by it, but they might not consider you as their close friend as well.
So it's how you attach meaning to a person. Farine, what's your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think it also depends on the other person's level of maturity. So if someone that's not my close friend came up to me and talked to me about, oh, I did this, then I would take it as a, I'm sorry, and I would apologize. But I feel a bit, hesitant to say this because I am a person that jokes about everything. But there's other people that just joke about everything, and there's just some things that you just have to be serious about. So it does depend on who you're standing in front of.
So it's about people's demeanor and how they treat you. I think for me personally, it's quite interesting with that both of you align. I think I'm a bit different in that sense. I think I've come to a point where I have a standard in which I want to be treated. And so if I'm going to exchange energy and I'm going to spend time on you, whether that's little or not, and I've attached value to you, and I think you should attach value to me, I wouldn't accept someone not being able to have that conversation. So if someone made me uncomfortable and I'm going to regularly speak to them, even if they're not close to me, I would expect them to receive that, because I just think a healthy relationship should have communication, and if we can't communicate, what is our relationship contingent on? So for me, I think I've come to a point where, because I'm so protective over my energy and I have a standard that in which I want to be treated, for me, those are the definitive matters, and how I view myself and how I want people to view me and how I want people to treat me. So that's really interesting how both of you are more flexible in that sense. I think it does come from different stages of your life and different, views of that. But I think for me personally, I'm quite protective over my space, and I feel like as I'm growing older, I really refine the kind of energies that I'm with, and I refine with the influence I have, because you know very well that the people that you spend time with really influence your thoughts and your actions, and just influence you fully. So yeah, I think that's my kind of thought of that. Farine, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just about what you said, we never attach value to ourselves and what we want to talk about sometimes. And that's what happens with me. Anything I want to say, when I feel like other people are not gonna listen to me or they don't care, I never say it. I don't have that standard for myself that, okay, yeah, I'm important and, I have some value in this. So yeah, that's my thought.
I think there's an approach. I think if someone everyone has an opinion, right? All thoughts and opinions are our own. Everyone has an opinion, and I think is to build that space to allow people to share their opinions. And that's not to say that you trample over someone else when they're trying to share their opinion. It's just allowing yourself to build that space, and allowing the people around you to contribute as well. I think, that's where emotional intelligence comes in, because you're able to understand that you're not going to leave someone out. So you're supposed to, fully turn to someone when they're talking to you, to give them their full attention. But also at the same time, similarly, is you kind of, as you grow older, I feel like personally for me, I've learned where I think I choose my battles in terms of where I want to give my opinion. When I know that there's not going to be a conducive outcome to a conversation, then I'm not going to allow myself to contribute to that discussion, because I know that in the end that's not going to be weighted in any shape or space or form, and I'm probably going to spend more time trying to explain myself with people who are committed not to understand. So for me, it's kind of discerning what kind of interactions there is and how much I want to contribute to it, and what the kind of objective is at the end. I think those are the things that kind of inform or measure how I want to interact with people. So thank you, Farine, kind of just outlining that. In terms of the next question, I think we kind of touched upon this in our discussion. The question is in the age of constant connectivity, do you think we've sacrificed the depth of our friendships for the breadth of our social networks? Farine, should we start with you?
That question is amazing. Let's see. I think you should repeat the question.
So, in the age of constant connectivity, do you think we've sacrificed the depth of our friendships for the breadth of our social networks? So if I just to kind of explain it a little bit, unpack it, what it means is that the depth of our friendships is something that we try to strive for, to make sure that it's meaningful, it's something that we feel impacted by. But the breadth of our social networks, meaning when you have multiple social media platforms, you have so many, you have access to so many platforms to talk to multiple type of people. Do you think we've exchanged that, or there's something that's in the expense of the other? Does that make the question a little bit more clearer?
Yeah, so are we putting more effort in our friendships or in our social network?
So
Is
in
that the
a way,
question?
so the question really asking is, is it more important to have depth in our friendships, or is it more important to have multiple friends from lots of social media platforms? Has social media evolved our viewing of friendships in that way?
It has, but for me, social media, like, all the followers and everything, it's something that, okay, people are gonna see that you have a lot of followers, people are gonna see that you're hanging out with so many friends and this, but social media at the end of the day is always fake. You always try to make it look, aesthetic. You always try to make it look like you're living your best life, but no one really is. So what people in real life are saying about you is what's important for me.
I think that's so profound. What people are saying to you in real life is really important. Sadia, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not a big social media anyway, so I feel like having loads of friends on social media doesn't really mean anything, because they could just, like you said, like they're just people that are commenting or messaging, and that's it. They're not gonna always make a conscious effort to be a friend, and if they are, you don't know what the true intentions are. Whereas focusing on your own actual friends that you've built and known for years is more important.
100%. I think for me, I agree with you, Sadia. I think I'm not that much of a social media person either. I think Farine is very well acquainted with that. She's constantly informing me new social media trends and also giving me new dictionary definitions. I think for me, I really value when people consciously spend time with me. I think that's one of my love languages, is spending time, quality time. And I think for me, it has to bring meaning. There has to be value. I attach that meaning to you because we've interacted, we've built something together. And I think the disadvantage of social media is that you have that barrier in terms of even body language, because there's cues that I cannot see and where you're expressing yourself. And so you might say I'm having a great day, but actually someone could be crying behind the screen, and there is no sense for you to be able to ascertain that. So for me, I definitely value in-person interactions as opposed to online interactions. And I do think there's been more of a focus on social media because I think that's something that provides instant gratification, which actually leads to my next question about instant gratification. Do you think instant gratification has influenced the way we view friendships? So, meaning in terms of and that's not just to do with social media. So, instant gratification in terms of, we expect things to happen very quickly. So, one example could be when we order something on Amazon and we expect it to come tomorrow and it doesn't come tomorrow, we get frustrated. And I think even if you think about that contextually, it's actually really disconcerting, because the backhand of that is there's a human behind that process, putting whatever you've ordered into a package, or even if it's a machine, there's a whole entire process, but you've expected that to happen within 24 hours. And I think that can also influence friendships. So I just wanted to hear your views on that, Sadia. So one of the ways maybe we can think about is, I think we touched upon it in the first half of the show, is in terms of having that expectation to someone responding immediately, that can come manifest as an instant form of gratification. What's your thought on that?
So I don't think so. Like, I mean, I suppose it's how well you know that person. So for example, you messaging me and expecting an instant response when, let's say, I'm doing night shifts, you won't get it. So it's more about understanding the person. Like, I can message you, for example, knowing you're at work, so I wouldn't have an expectation of you responding on instantly. So yeah, like that. I mean, I suppose it's how well you understand that person and their routine, because
Mm.
I kind of know your whole routine. And some of my other friends as well, I kind of know their routine. So I know like what I'm going to get out of you, or what time I can get a certain response. Or
Yeah.
I know I could just call and you'll answer.
Yeah,
if you're free.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the same as I think that's again that
Mhm.
derives from emotional intelligence, is understanding the other person. Farine, what is your thoughts on that?
I kind of agree with you both, but for example, if I'm texting someone that's my age, so let's say my friends, I expect them to answer because I know they're so addicted to social media like me. They're always on their phone and everything. But if I don't know, I text my dad, I know he's gonna take like 2 weeks to answer, and by that time, I'm not gonna do anything. So I just give him a call. So it does depend on who you're texting.
Yeah. But that again is understanding.
The
Like
person.
if you know someone's on social media a lot more, you do kind of expect that they're gonna reply.
I have a
Or-
question. Yeah, sorry, Sadia, I cut you off.
No, my God.
Do you prefer texting over calls, and why?
I do prefer texting. Well, most of the time. But I don't know. I just
But
think it's
why?
more just a habit more than anything. Like I don't know. I just don't like calling that much. But then if it's a serious situation or like an immediate situation, I'd want to call and be like, hey, let me just explain everything, because it won't make sense. But then again, voice noting is kind of meeting in the middle, isn't it? Because you're still able to explain everything, and then you can either get a text or another voice note in response. But then, yeah, I do prefer texting.
Interesting. Yeah, she gets a bit disgruntled when I call her. She's like
It's a quick conversation and done.
She gets quite disorientated when I call her, and I just think I really. So I'll re-ask Fareen's her thoughts, and then I'll
Yeah.
explain what my thoughts are. Fareen, what's your thoughts?
I love calling. You know, texting, I get so lazy. And not calling, I feel like this new thing that I'm doing now is just sending a lot of, videos of me just talking, because I have this habit of explaining every single thing that happened to me in detail to everyone. So I definitely prefer calling. You can't feel the emotion or, the impact of that over text.
I agree. I think you can't hear someone's voice and their intonation, so you don't really know how they're feeling. I definitely agree with you, Fareen. I prefer the calls because I think they're more in depth, and also I think there isn't space for someone to misconstrue what you're trying to say or how you're saying something. So I think for me, definitely, I prefer calls. And I think one of the things, though, I feel like there's a culture now, and we are coming to the end of the show, but I do think there's a culture where people prefer to text because it's less confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has a lot of drawbacks as well, because that manifests in uncomfortable conversations where if someone does feel uncomfortable with you, you don't want to speak to them face to face because you're so accustomed to hiding behind the screen and to actually consciously think about what you're going to say and knowing that that's something that's curated. Whereas when you are speaking to someone in person, it's more dynamic and you can have a think about what you're going to say, but you can't control everything that's going to come out your mouth because it's going to be something that's like there's just like a flow between you and the other person. But I think we're going to have to continue this discussion in the next show that we'll have next week. So thank you for everyone for your contributions, and we're sure to see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh my God.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, all children of Adam are sinners, but best among sinners are those who constantly repent.
Narrated by Anas